Alright guys, welcome to my new channel. This is going to be the first official new video of my channel, and this is going to be the build video for the Multiplex Funjet clone. So here's my clone. I just wanted to go through some specs on this before we get into the official build so you guys have an idea of what's going on. This white foam board down here is Dollar Tree foam board. This pink foam is 1/2 inch wall insulation foam board that I get from Home Depot. In the back here, like I had mentioned in my other video, it's a Microjet version 3 with a 6x4 prop, 30 amp ESC, receiver, then battery. And the battery I have recessed down in here. I've just cut away, so there's actually, just looking at this plane here, there's actually two pieces of pink foam. I think you can see this. They sandwich this base piece. So what this plane consists of, it has this base piece of foam here, 4 pieces of foam that sit atop the wing to make the KFM4. There's one here on the bottom, and then 2 on the other side. This does not continue with this piece on the other side. It stops right here against the against this like pink fuselage piece. It's not really a fuselage, but it kind of is. So to build this, you build this base piece down here. You cut this out, which has the Elevons in it. And then this is the continuation of the base piece up here. So you have that piece. You have 4 of these. You have 1, 2, and then on the bottom 3, then 4 over here. To make the KFM4, you have 2 fins, and then you have 2 of these pink foam pieces. Like I had mentioned, they sandwich the base piece, as you can see here, then continue out front, and then the base piece stops in here. Which you can see here, it stops, and then they continue on up here. I just glued them together down here and kind of taped it so you can't really see, the seam line there. For the motor mount on the back, this is just a piece of plywood that I super glued on the back, then I taped over just to give it some extra strength, then I just connected the motor on there. So to start out, you need to get a couple sheets, I think 2 sheets actually will do, of the Dollar Tree foam board. So I already marked this out, and I'm going to go through how to mark this, but as you can see, that is the base of the plane there. So that fits right on there. Okay. So start. This is a piece. This is 20 by 30, and you want to mark here in the middle. This is at 15 inches, so it's halfway through. And you want to make a full line from the top to bottom on here. Then you're going to create. This is the base here. This is 5 inches wide, which is the tip chord of the plane here. So it's 5 inches wide, and this rectangle, you see it here? So this is 5 by 30 because it's a 30-inch width. So you're going to draw this 5 by 30 rectangle 4.5 inches up. So I marked 4.5 inches up on this side, 4.5 inches up on this side, and I drew this, then 5 inches up from here. I drew another line so you get this base piece. That's how you start. Then you want to create this like triangle piece on top. So on the midline, this is 2 inches up. Right here, this distance is 2 inches. Then you connect from here out to the leading edge of the tip. And then, so this is 4 inches up, like I had mentioned, 4.5 inches up, like I had mentioned before. And you want to connect this down to the center at the very bottom of the plane. So at this point, you'll have this design from here to here and then down. So then the plane also has, aside from that, has these things that extend up on here, extend forward, this kind of like triangle piece up here. So this is, let me just confirm, yes, 7.5 inches up. So starting from this, we're using this as the base here, this 5 by 30 rectangle. So along the midline, you want to mark 7.5 inches up. So that goes right there. It's 7.5 inches up. And then this triangle, I didn't draw it all the way down connecting, but connects with an imaginary point out here, right there. that's 5.5 inches over from the midline. So I make a little mark there, and then I draw it here and I stop at the leading edge. Hope that makes sense. So there's another mark out here, 5.5 inches out on this side. Then you connect that one that's 5.5 inches out to the 7.5 inch mark up there. So that is that. And now there's a few other marks on here that I want to go over. There's these, which are alignment lines for the fins. These are 5 inches over. So I made a little mark here, 5 inches over from the midline, and at the top, 5 inches over. And I drew this line just on the piece of wing we're going to use. And I did the same on this side, 5 inches over and 5 inches over. You draw this line. Now for the Elevons. These are 2.5 inches tall here and here, and they're 7 inches wide, starting at 2.5 inches in. So I made a mark, where is it? Right there. 2.5 inches in, and then 9.5 inches in, which is right there, because then 2.5 to 9.5, this gives you 7 inches wide. And then other marks up here, 2.5 then 9.5 inches in, just so I get this straight. Then I just draw it 2 inches tall, 2 inches tall, and connect that line. So then I did the same over here, made a mark 2.5 inches in, and then 9.5 inches in. Then I do another set of marks, 9.5 inches in, 2.5 inches in, draw it up, 2 inches tall, 2 inches tall, connect those lines. I hope that that also makes sense. So now at this point, you need to cut out this figure. You cut out along here, down, across here, and then the same on the other side. So I always recommend starting with a fresh, sharp blade. So I'm doing that here. This knife just has replaceable blades, and then I use a piece of wood to cut on my dining room table. Alright, so this is the base of the plane. I think you can see here, matches up perfectly with this. And that is the hardest part of this entire build. So, a KFM4 airfoil, there's a piece on the top, a piece on the bottom, and they are at 50% of the wing chord. So this is 5 inches wide out here. So this is only 2.5 inches wide for the KFM4. The step's at 50%, so it steps at 2.5 inches back. And then here in the center, I did the center here I excluded these little extensions up here. So just up here to this. And so that's 11.5 inches total. Let me confirm that. Yes, it's 11.5 inches total here, from here to here. So half of that is 5 3/4 of an inch. So I want the KFM4 to be 5 3/4 of an inch, and then scaling down to 2.5 inches out here. Now, there's also this fuselage, which is 2.5 inches wide. So it's 1.25 inches out from each side. I don't have anything here. This KFM4 piece just stops right along here. So I'm going to sketch one out and then trace the others from that. So as you're drawing and cutting and making it, you're cutting along this edge. So this is the most exact edge where all your markings are. Then this side, you know, if you have the angle of, if you have the knife at some sort of an angle, this can be a little bit less precise. So in cutting out pieces, I like to use the side that I cut out watching. So what I do here is I line this up right along the center. You can see right where this comes to a point here and here, and I put it right at this bottom edge here. So it's perfectly lined up. And then right along up here, right along that edge. So it sits perfectly on here. Then I trace that. I like using a pencil for tracing. Alright, so that is half of my wing. Inevitably when tracing you're going to miss a few spots, like right here I missed. So I'm just going to put my ruler right along here. and add that in. Plus this kind of cleans up your lines a little bit because it won't be perfect tracing. Alright, that's pretty good. Okay, so out here at the swing tip, this is 5 inches. I'm going to make a mark at 2.5 inches. So this is the leading edge, so this is going to be kind of my piece here. Then I'm going to extend this in. This leading edge, there we go. So I'm going to check, this should be 11.5 inches. It's dead on. Okay, so now I'm going to mark back 5 3/4 inch. So it's right here. Okay, so now I need to connect these two. Great, so this is my KFM4. Now I just need to take off 1.25 inches from this inside. So the way I do this is I mark over 1.25 inches here, and then some other distance further down, 1.25 inches. Confirm that, yes. So then this area right here is my KFM4. Now I'm going to cut that out, and then you need to cut 3 more of these. Just use this as a tracing, mark it out on foam, and then do that. So I'm going to do it right now. Also, note, when you're cutting this out, I just like to write front. So I know that that's the leading edge of the wing, just because it looks kind of similar, just so I don't have to question that later. I just know immediately what that is. Now, like I said, this is the side I drew it on and cut out, so I'm going to trace this side 3 times and cut those out. Alright, so now we have the base of the wing, and we have 4 KFM4 parts. And I've marked on here front on these. So there's that. Let me see if we fit this to the wing right here. It creates a 2.5 inch margin here for that fuselage to go in. So there's 2 there, and then 2 go on the bottom of the wing. So before that happens, right now is a good point to cut out your Elevons and tape them. So the way I do it is I cut them out. I do a bevel just on the control surface itself on this bottom edge here, and then tape them on. And I use this Scotch Extreme tape. It has bi-directional filaments in there. I think you can see that there. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so now to get these to fit, as you can see, they fit just perfectly right now. So I'm going to trim a little bit of the edge off of here and off of here on both of these, and add in little tape reinforcements on the bottom. Alright, so these control surfaces are done. They're hooked on here, ready to go. The next step is going to be adding on the KFM4 pieces, so get out your glue gun. Alright, so now we're going to attach the parts of the KFM4. So you find the edge named front, and that's going to go right along here. I kind of match it up at first, make sure it's a good fit, looks good, then I'm going to apply the glue. I just kind of do a circle, a big long circle, with a little bit down the middle. Alright, so I also applied the KFM 4 pieces to the bottom here, and that's set. It looks great. I just need to, I'm going to bevel these edges. So when I bevel it, I try to bevel. I'm also going to get a new fresh blade on here, but I try to bevel through this piece to here, to that tip, through half of the middle piece, right up there. I hope that makes sense. So then you get the best airfoil. You want it to be symmetrical on the top and bottom, this front curve. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So after that, here's what I've got. And I'm going to go ahead and get my sandpaper and sand this into even a better shaped airfoil. Alright, we're done with this for now. We're going to move on to making the fuselage. So this fuselage is 24.5 inches long and extends from the very back tip of the plane to in front of where this foam board ends. And it's 2.5 inches wide here, but then right here, this is how the Funjet does it. It swells right here, and this is 3 inches wide. And this, where it hits 3 inches wide, I come up right here. This is 7.5 inches from the nose, and then curve it back down to the nose. I just kind of just sketched it out on the first piece, and then until I was happy with how it looked. But it's 2.5 inches wide, swells to 3.5, and then back down to a tip. 24.5 inches wide total. So this is my foam board. This is one of the edges that came on here, so I assume that this is a completely straight, flat surface on there. So I take my square, and I'm going to make a line that is perfectly square, 90 degrees from this bottom. And then I'm going to extend this up. Alright, now I'm going to make a mark. So from here, I'm going to make a mark at 1.5 and 3 inches over in a few spots. And then you connect these lines over, the ones that are 3 inches over and the ones that are 1.5 inches over. Alright, then I find 24.5 inches up, which is right here. It did not make my lines long enough, so I get for not measuring. That's right there. There's the tip front. So I'm just going to extend this middle line all that way up. Okay. So this is 24.5 inches long, this middle line. Each of these lines are 1.5 inches over from the center line. So like I said, it swells to 3 inches wide, which is this right now, at 7.5 inches from the front. So I'm going to measure 7.5 inches down from very front, which is right here, here. This doesn't have to be perfectly exact, but you want to do your best, obviously. And then I'm going to have it swell down, or come down to 2 inches wide at 2.5 inches from the nose. So 2.5 inches down. I'm going to make it 2 inches wide. Just put this on here, make a mark at 1 inch from each side because 2 inches wide. Then I'm going to connect this to where it's at 3 inches wide, and then to the nose. So like I had said, this bottom section is 2.5 inches wide, which isn't much from 3, but it creates the look of the Funjet. So I'm going to have this swell down to 2.5 inches wide at 11.5 inches up from the bottom. So I'm going to measure up 11.5 inches, make a mark, So 2.5 inches wide, that's 1.25 inches on each side of the midline. So 1.25 inches. I'm going to connect this. Alright, I'm going to make a few other marks 1.5 inches out and connect all these lines.